Broadcasting from beautiful, tropical Vero Beach, Florida, it's Money Nation with Ed Gardner.
Welcome to Money Nation. Today's special guest, Joe Spector, grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He attended Northeastern University in Boston, where afterwards he went and became a buyer at the Hills department stores. After that, he worked for Essex Entertainment as VP sales and for marketing and software. He then followed up with Harrison Mallow, where he was VP of sales and kitchen appliances. From then, he started his own company called the Local Palate. Joe, thank you for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
How's everything going?
Everything's great. As I tell everyone, there's no bad days in South Carolina, only better ones.
Charleston, South Carolina. That's how long you've been there for?
I moved here right after 9/11, so 20 plus years.
Fantastic. What inspired you to start a Southern food culture magazine, having grown up and lived in the Northeast? What was your vision on this one?
So my vision was, 9/11 changed many people's lives, and it changed mine as well. And we were looking to sort of start our family and looking for a change, and we weren't really sure where that change should be. So we visited a bunch of cities throughout the United States, from California to Florida. And one weekend we came to Charleston, South Carolina. I'll never forget, it was November after Thanksgiving. It was probably 75 degrees and beautiful. And I said, where has this place been? And Charleston sort of meshed the two worlds that we really grew to love and appreciate, which were really, New York City and Boston, where I went to college. So it's really a small, big town. Charleston is a great place in terms of it has architectural integrity. It's by the water. It's a beautiful city. It had at the time the beginning of a cool food culture and food scene. And I think the reason for starting the Food Culture of the South magazine was when I moved to Charleston, I fell in love with sort of the people and the history. And when you meld the history and the people of the South, you come up with great stories. And when you accompany a great story with a great meal, you come up with a great concept. So I had this crazy idea that I could create the preeminent food culture magazine in the country. And in 2011, I put together a staff of people that I thought, sort of had what it takes to really build a publication. And we started really small in Charleston as being a local magazine for the first 2 issues. And then we expanded to be a magazine about the entire southeastern part of the United States.
So that was your vision, to put the people and food together. And did you like the food better than the food you were used to from the Northeast? Was that much different?
Well, I can tell you this, the people in the South cook with more heart and probably a lot more butter. Right. So, I put on a fair amount of weight when I moved south, and fortunately I've lost it. But, I think it's more about, the community. It's more about the food, its roots, where the food's from, how it's cultivated and harvested, it's just about the process. And I think when you start to appreciate where your food is from, and you start to appreciate, the people that put that food together, whether it's the farmers, the fishermen, the purveyors, the artisans, etc., it becomes more meaningful. And not that it's not as meaningful in the Northeast, but it's sort of hit more home and more local in the South, because it was a way of life for a long, long period of time. And there was this real authentic realism and desire to be about, the meal. And I think that's what really gave me the inspiration to sort of begin the publication.
Now, the publication, is it a hardcover magazine? Is it an internet magazine? Tell us a little bit about how it started and what it is today.
Sure. Great question. So the magazine is it's a perfect bound hardcover magazine. It's very upscale. We have a very affluent, demographic throughout the country. We produce eight magazines a year. We also have a digital version of the magazine that we sell, digitally. So our magazine, there's lots of different distribution ways that you can get the magazine. So number one, you can subscribe to the magazine. So we have paid subscribers throughout the country and also some international. In addition to that, we have a digital audience. So those people buy the digital magazine that they can get on their iPhone or laptop or tablet. That's the second way. The third way is you can buy it in the newsstand. So if you're in the Northeast, it could be at Whole Foods or it could be Wegmans. If you're in the South, it could be, Publix, Harris Teeter, Food Lion, Target, Costco, Barnes and Noble, pretty much all the major chains throughout the country and many airports as well.
Is that a little different than the actual Nice magazine? Or like, is it paper? Is it a little different than the regular fancy magazine?
Which one?
The third one you said.
Well, so the regular magazine that goes out to the subscribers also is the same magazine that you can buy on the newsstands.
Okay. So you can get a subscription, exactly, or you can buy it at Publix.
Correct. That's right.
How is the magazine publishing industry faring during this pandemic? And what do you think about the future outlook for the magazine publishing industry?
It's a great question. The magazine business over the years, had been a declining business in some niches. Fortunately for us, in the food world, it's been on fire, right? So the pandemic actually helped our business in one sense, and that being that more people were at home, more people cooked at home, more people, when they went out, if you remember initially, people were worried about sort of touching things and being in places, and it was really more of a, no one really understood what COVID really was. So when you went out to the store, you went to the supermarket and you basically came home. So we were fortunate that our magazines, whether it was in the food stores or the drug stores, et cetera, sold really well because people had more time. They weren't commuting. They were more working from home. A lot of their families or extended families moved back in with them. So they were part of just really the family experience, and the family experience dictated the fact that it revolved around, cooking your meals and the food. So we were fortunate in that the magazine sold through at a much higher rate in all those stores because people, it was one of those things people grabbed. I think they had more time to sit back and reflect and actually read versus spending all their time online and on the social platforms. And it gave them an outlook to be involved with their other family members and something to do. So that was a positive. The magazine business in general during the pandemic was obviously tough because people weren't traveling. The restaurants, suffered because people weren't going out to eat in certain parts of the country. We weren't able to put on events like we did in the past, but pretty much, we were in a good place with all these other things working to our favor.
How many years has the Local Palate been going now?
So this is our 10th anniversary. So we just celebrated our 10th anniversary this month in August. Our 10th anniversary issue is now on sale on newsstands throughout the country. We've gone through a little bit of a rebranding. Once you spend 10 years in the industry, you have to refresh, a little bit of what you've done. So we've done that, and, we've got a great team, and we continue to produce, what I feel is one of the best magazines out there in the market.
Is your magazine like at Hudson News and all the airports?
Yeah. So during the pandemic, potentially still now, some of the airports have cut back or a lot of stores have still been closed. But for the most part, yes, we have airport distributors that distribute our magazines throughout many of the larger airports and smaller ones throughout the Northeast, Midwest, South, and West Coast.
What is your audience and demographics for your publication?
We're predominantly female. So about 68% of our audience is female. About 32% of our audience is male. It's affluent. We have as many paid subscribers that are in an income bracket above 300,000 as they are 150,000. They're well educated. They're well traveled. They're into history, culture, obviously food and the culinary scene, and the arts. So it's a really, for the most part, a well educated, interested and engaged audience that really believes that food ties together with their lifestyle.
What's the content makeup? Is it all just about food, or is there anything else in the magazine?
Right. So the content is diverse. So we have lots of different pockets. So one of the pockets is travel, right? Because lots of people travel for food and they travel for the culinary experience. So travel is a big part of our magazine. We highlight destinations, where to eat, drink, see, do, all those kind of places throughout our marketplace. And just to clarify, our content geography is really Baltimore, Maryland area, south, including the state of Florida, and west, including the state of Texas. And we have West Virginia as part of our south as well. So all those states make up where all our content comes from, and all of our distribution is nationally, throughout the United States of America.
Digital and social media make up a big part of publishing. Tell me a little bit about that in your business and how's that affecting you?
Yeah, so that's a beast. Digital content is ever changing. It changes by sort of sometime by the second. It gives us an opportunity to be on trend and be on real time in terms of what we do. I mean, Instagram is a huge platform for us because of the visual nature of the platform. Obviously, if you put various food and recipes and cocktails on those types of platforms, they do really well because they're visual. Facebook is still very strong as well with more of a younger demographic. Twitter a little bit, not as big as it once was, but now we're starting to develop things like TikTok, and obviously we've done a lot in Pinterest. We do e-newsletters where we send out a newsletter to our opt-in subscriber base, usually once or twice a week, and it's either all editorial in terms of what our editorial team feels is on point or appropriate for our audience at that time, or it's sponsored by some of our vendor partners who want to get out their messaging to our audience as well.
Do you use like Facebook ads and Google ads and pay for ads and then see what your return is on your ad investment?
Yeah, so we do a combination of paid search, and that's through Google and Facebook, et cetera. And then we do a lot of SEO and SEM optimization and organic, right? So one of the beauties of being a content house or content provider is that the content is picked up by the Google search engines, et cetera, and really sends out, how can I say this? I guess really engages with the audience over time, and it builds up more traffic to our website. And content is king, and it gives us the opportunity to really provide engaging and on-point content to our audience. And we're able to break that down by age group, by demographic, by hobbies, by likes, et cetera. And it's sort of fascinating because every day is a different story. The good news, that's the good news. The bad news sometimes is people like, Facebook, change the rules on how content has to be provided and how the content has to be made up. And that makes it challenging because we have to sort of go back to the drawing board because just of different algorithms that Facebook then is creating for their audiences.
Yeah, content is king. And after 10 years, you might have a lot more content you did the first year. Has your revenues been growing pretty steady year after year, or how's that been?
Yeah, so our revenue has grown each year over the past 10 years, and I think the reason for that is because we have multiple revenue streams, right? So we don't leave it down to someone just paying for a print ad or running a series of digital ads on our website. We have everything from newsstand sales is a revenue driver. Subscription sales is a revenue driver. Paid print advertising, paid digital advertising, digital ads, e-newsletters, sponsored and partnered posts on social media and platforms like that. Events, now that they're starting to come back, hopefully post-COVID, those are revenue generating. So what I've done, from being involved in other businesses, I run the magazine different than maybe potentially people who are born and raised in the publishing world, because I came into this industry with really no experience in the publishing side, but a lot of experience in the entrepreneurial side or working for medium to large companies and watching how they run their businesses. So I run our business, very strategic and very sales and marketing focused. And that might be a little bit different than some of the other magazine people, because to me, you have to have multiple revenue points to be successful.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Joe. Sounds good. Joe, we're going to take a quick break. Remember, listeners, any questions about your portfolio, you can always feel free to give me a call at 518-255-8854, or you can email me at edgardner@connoisseur.com. We'll be right back.
All opinions expressed by Ed Gardner and/or his guests on the Money Nation show are solely Ed Gardner's and/or his guests' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Cutter & Company or any of their affiliates. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Ed Gardner and/or guests as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only in as an expression of their opinion. Ed Gardner's and his guests' opinions are based on information he considers reliable, but neither Cutter & Company nor affiliates and/or subsidies warrant its completeness or accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. Always talk to your financial advisor before making such decisions.
Welcome back to Money Nation. Joe, you guys have had the hard print magazine and you've had the digital magazine, but you now have a new online e-commerce site, localpalatemarketplace.com. Why did you enter this space, and tell us why you wanted to get into selling food or products?
So, during the pandemic, obviously some of the business slowed down little bit on the event side, on the advertising side, because people weren't traveling as much, and there wasn't as much disposable income being put into the economy for hospitality and tourism. So my background, I started out my career in the retail business, so I understood the retail business pretty well, and I had some experience on the e-commerce side. So I looked at the industry as a whole, and the industry is billions and billions of dollars are being done every day in e-commerce, and the culinary category, or the household goods category, is one of the largest in that category, in that space, in e-commerce. So we looked at it and we said, we have a great brand in the Local Palate. We have a built-in audience of followers across our social, digital, and print properties. People have attended our events for a decade. So, we're a known entity, we're a trusted authority, and we have a lot of artisans that we've written about and featured in our magazine. So I came up with the idea that we really needed to have a online presence, and call it the Local Palate Marketplace, where we are a marketplace for Southern artisanal, artisans and makers to, sell their products to our audience and new audiences. So we started in really late November of 2020, and it's grown exponentially every single month since November of 2020, and we are now in the process of refining the site, adding and onboarding more vendors, creating incremental categories of merchandise. We are also looking to put together, which we will have in our winter holiday entertaining magazine. We'll have a whole section on the marketplace with all this great culinary and artisanal products that you can buy for yourself or for your family, and for gifts for the holiday season. So that's what we've been doing, and it's been a blast, because I thought the magazine business was fun, talking to people about culinary and history and recipes and barbecue and whole hog and everything that people really love to participate in and be a part of. But at the same time, the e-commerce business, there's even more stories and more products that are being made and marketed on a daily basis than I've ever seen before, and everybody has a story, which makes it that much more fun.
So if you feature a certain product or a food or a pan company or whatever, you may put them on your marketplace and they can sell their stuff on your website?
Yeah. So it's a combination of both. Sometimes it's the people that we feature or are part of our content online or digital. Sometimes it's people that we haven't had a chance to feature or be a part of any of our properties, at this moment, but we wanted to give them an opportunity to have an audience and sell their products. So it's a combination of both.
Do you drop ship, or do they take the order on your website and then they ship it out from their own warehouse, or do you store everything and you ship everything out?
Right. So the way it works is it's basically 100% drop ship model. So we do all the back end. We actually pay for the shipping of all the products. We have a couple different platforms that we have that are integrated. And what happens is the consumer goes on the website, they find the product that they're interested in, they purchase the product. It comes to us, all the information. We then send off that information all electronically to the vendors with the appropriate shipping labels and packing lists. Vendor then pick, packs, and ships that product and ships it to the end consumer.
What are some of your best selling products right now? Are they more foods or products or ingredients?
So it's a mix of everything. I mean, I'm surprised every day. That's the fun part, because the difference between the magazine business or the publishing business and the online business is, when you wake up in the morning, there's orders, and when you go to bed, there's orders, right? So it's great to see that revenue stream, come in as often as it does. It's everything from, it's everything from, bourbon flavored bacon to, long grain, Carolina rice, to spices, pottery, chocolates, pies, finishing salts. Hot sauce. It really, everything it does really well. There's not one necessarily. There's not one item that is, far and beyond everything else in terms of sales. So it's kind of a community effort in terms of all the different products doing equally as well. And then, you're sort of surprised. Like, for instance, we sell a lot of rice. We sell rice every day.
Really? I think you buy rice easy in the store, right?
Well, we sell a rice that's here grown in South Carolina called Carolina Gold rice. And one of the largest markets for us to sell that Carolina Gold rice is California.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. So every day people buy Carolina Gold rice and we ship it. Well, we don't ship it. The vendor ships it to California.
And interesting. How's the traffic been for your website? You said you started in November, so you're 7 months, 8 months into it.
Correct.
How's your traffic, and how do you increase your traffic?
So the traffic builds, every day and every month. We're fortunate that we're a content aggregator or content creator, right? Because we have the publishing side. So whenever we publish or write about a artisan or vendor or purveyor, their product sells. Even when we don't write about them, their product sells. So we do a combination of everything from organic to paid search to social media advertising and print advertising, and putting together packages for our vendors to help them increase the rate of sale of their products and for them to get more traffic. Everybody out there today, there's lots of great small purveyors and artisans, and they have great websites. But the difference is there's not many publishing companies that are in the e-commerce business from a product standpoint, right? So if you were to go online right now, and let's say we sell a lot of hot honey too, right? Hot honey is a great business. So if you were to, create hot honey and start your own website, you would do okay, right? You would eventually build your audience, and maybe you would build it, exponentially, and it would be huge. But at the same time, we would probably be able to help you in a shorter period of time, because we already have the traffic, we already have the content, we already have the editorial staff that's trusted. So that's a big word, right? So when you're talking about food and housewares and home goods, you really want to rely on a trusted authority to back what you should be purchasing. Like, why buy Carolina Gold rice off of other than some other kind of rice, right? Why is it better? Well, we tell you why it's better. We show you why it's better. We tell you what recipes we may be using that rice in. And we're what I say is that we're the authentic Southern voice when it comes to a lot of these Southern culinary artisans or purveyors products, because we have the audience and we have the content and we have the traffic that's been built up over 10 years. And that's why we're able to be more successful maybe than someone who's just trying to start out on their own website.
Do you do any paid search for your for the website marketplace?
Yes,
we do.
We do.
How does that work out?
Is
it cost effective? And
you know what? It's interesting, and I hope we never get to this point, but the more money we pay in paid search, the greater return we get.
Wow. Wow.
So, but there has to be a point in time where that doesn't work as well as it's been working. But yes, so we throw a lot of money at the paid search side to get you in front of, the messaging that we feel is important, and based upon your demographic and your own habits in terms of you shop and the websites that you go to, hopefully we can find you and, entice you to buy some of our product.
Yep. Hey, as long as your revenue is greater than your cost of the ads, makes a lot of sense, right?
That's the idea. Correct.
That's the end of the game. So I've always heard about some of your events. You used to have the big, what they called shrimp boils, or you had these crawfish events. Tell us about those. And obviously, I think a lot of things were canceled because of COVID. What does the future look like for these space and these events?
So I'm hopeful that the future is bright, right? So I'm cautiously optimistic, I would imagine, as many people are. I can tell you this, that, in the last 3 or 4 months, I've never seen a greater propensity for people to want to drink and eat and be outside and attend things than I've ever been a part of in the last decade, right? So people are out there spending lots of money, eating and drinking and being a part of whatever is available, because they've been sitting sort of at home or on the sidelines for a long time, waiting to have the opportunity to sort of go out and spend some money and be a part of, to get the fun back. We've done events, everything from, barbecue events to, one of our franchises that we started is called Whiskey After Dark, which is something, my staff and I are very proud about. What we do is, we partner with a beverage distributor. We bring in brand ambassadors from sometimes all around the world. And we have, 150, Scotch, whiskeys, etc. Sometimes beer, sometimes some cider, sometimes some wine. They're tasting events, but they're high-end tasting events. So you really get to take tasting notes and experience, bourbons and scotches, etc., that you may have not tasted before, but always wanted to. So we have those events coming back. We are a big part of an event called Gather Round. And Gather Round's a big event in Atlanta, Georgia, on October 14th through the 17th at a new hotel that's being opened called the Epicurean. And the Epicurean is a culinary forward hotel. Kind of cool. There's one in Tampa, and I believe there's one in Fort Myers as well. They have a culinary theater where you can come and see demos of products or do tastings. During the weekend, there's arts and there's music and there's food and there's beverages and there's educational seminars. So for instance, this isn't the exact name, but I'll give you an idea. Let's say one of the names of the classes is Roots. And Roots is sort of, how food has sort of transitioned over the years, where it comes from, how it was, originally cultivated, who are the people sort of behind it. And you pair that with some of the whiskeys, you get a really cool history, because when you talk about Brown-Forman and Diageo and people like that, there's a great history and appreciation for whiskey and bourbon in the United States. And those categories have never been hotter than they are today.
You have any events planned at this point, or are you still waiting to see how things shape up?
No, we have probably 4 events between September and December that we have planned, and those events are South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, etc. So we feel good about it. It's interesting. Each state is obviously different. The rules on permitting and having a certain amount of people in a certain destination with COVID and COVID protocols are iffy and changing, but we're optimistic that we can get back to our business, and I'm sure many people out there are optimistic that they want to take part in one of these events as well, because like I said, they've been sitting on the sidelines and not doing a lot probably in the last 15 months or so.
Very interesting. I want to come down and I want to check out one of these in Charleston. I'll get some dates from you.
That I hear there's direct flights every day from New York.
There you go. Well, remember, listeners, the Local Palate. Pick it up at your Hudson News at any airport when you're traveling, or you can go online and you can get a subscription, and also check out the Local Palate Marketplace.com. All the best foods from the Southeastern United States. Joe, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks, Ed. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it, and hope your listening audience really starts to, stir the pot, as they say.
We will check back in with you, and we're going to see how things are doing. And maybe I'll come down and do a live interview from the whiskey. What's the whiskey one called again? The
Whiskey After Dark. It's November 4th in Charleston, South Carolina.
Maybe we'll have to do that. I can do a live podcast from Charleston, South Carolina. Is it going to be by the ocean? Where's it going to be?
You know what? Every little place is only a couple of
Oh, you go door to door? Is that what you do? You walk around? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's a tasting. Yeah, so we have a tasting where we bring in all the vendors and the ambassadors, and you basically have an opportunity to sit and taste at I don't know how many, 30, 40 different stations that may have 3 to 5 different brands. So you could be talking 150 different types of alcohol or whiskey to try, bourbon, etc. It's definitely, as I tell everybody, it's not a terrible time.
Sounds fun. Remember, listeners, any questions about your portfolio, questions at all, feel free to give me a call at 518-255-8854, or you can email me at edgardner@cutterco.com. And remember, for any past interviews, you can go to YouTube and just search Money Nation. Joe, thanks a lot for being with us, and have a great day.
You too. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.